Marty,
Mm-hmm.
I've been catching some heat. I mean, I've been
I've
catching
noticed
heat for
that.
a little while.
I've noticed that. It's actually noticeable online on your, you make a post and then I often reply to your post and then you keep reading and I just go, wow, you got like people are upset at you for a variety of reasons. I think, you know what? Take it as a compliment, right? Like
Oh, I
when
do.
people are like when people are they get upset at me occasionally, and when people are upset at us, that's because we're over the target. Like we're taking flack for an opinion. And yeah.
And I'm not
Yeah.
afraid of sharing my opinions. And this is one of those things, right? So right now I'm getting a lot of flack for just being American. That's the thing. Having plans to move to the United States of America. I fought very hard for what's happening here in Canada, and I'm going to continue to fight for Canadians. But some people don't see it that way. Other things are, there's big immigration debate, and I kind of
Mm-hmm.
draw the line. I draw the line at where people start showing a little bit of hatred towards particular racial groups. And I'm like, okay, well, we got to reel it back. Like, we can all have issues with the immigration system, but as soon as it turns into that, then I'm gonna put my foot down. And I let people know full well my parents were both immigrants. My wife is an immigrant, and I have no problem with immigrants that are here for the right reasons. I have absolutely no problem with that. So yeah, these are the things we have to draw the lines on.
And when somebody gives us shit for expressing an opinion, I like to throw back that Jordan Peterson quote. Remember when he got interviewed by that British lady journalist, and she's like, why should, I can't remember the exact question, but he threw it back at her. He's like, in order to get to the truth, you have to risk offending and getting offended, right? And he stumped her on that. And that's sometimes that's what we're doing. We post and be, frankly, folks, we post stuff online here. We do post things to test opinions, right? We are testing the waters. I mean, we're like, but also we're not going to play it safe. Let me tell you a story on that. Actually, let me tell you a story on this one. It happened to me last night. So last night, Danielle Smith was in my constituency writing. So she did her a town hall, and I was there. She knows me. She recognizes me, right? And then she did her little speech, and she opened it up for question, and then she watched me walk across the floor to go ask her a question. And one of her handlers came to me while I was in line, and they said, "You're going to be nice, right?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be nice," and I felt like being nice, right? So I'm going to be nice. But 2-3 people in front of me asked really soft ball questions, so I decided I'm going to be nice, but I'm going to ask a tough question. And I raised the immigration question with Danielle Smith. I'm like, one of the advantages, I'm not seeing the advantage of all this growth. But anyways, all I want to say is I put myself out there. I asked an immigration question, and you know what the reaction was from the audience? Huge applause. Huge applause.
There you go.
So and then when I sat back down, I had people said, "Thank you for asking that." I'm like, okay, cool. So that's what you and I do, right? We know that there are people who have issues on their mind, but they don't want to bring it up. They're still work, they're still employed, they're next to their friends. They got all sorts of excuse, and I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
You work, so you can take a little bit of shit, but you have to be careful. I don't work anymore. So I can be, I can ask some really tough questions and people can try and cancel me, and good luck.
Try to cancel me. Good luck.
Yeah.
Honestly, like at the end of the day, like if I worked for an employer that didn't want me because of an opinion that I had, I don't want to work for that guy anymore.
Change employers. Exactly.
I don't work for an employer like that. So come at me. So honestly, and I don't think anything that I say I wouldn't stand by. Period.
And you're not saying it behind a keyboard, right? You'll say it.
No.
You're not anonymous, right? So that's the other thing. I mean, I'm still somewhat anonymous. People accuse me of that. They go, "You're anonymous because my account name is Marty Up North." I'm like, it says right there on my account, Martin Boulanger. Like, I'm not anonymous. Everybody in the world, Marty Up North is just sort of a trademark or an old moniker, but everybody knows you're Clyde and I'm Marty, and we're not anonymous and we're not keyboard warriors. Like, if you want to really challenge us on an opinion, come at it. Come to the meeting. Yeah, come to the week conference, man. And
absolutely,
I'll stand by my opinions and I'll debate face to face. Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like I want to put out these opinions, but I want to reel back where I think some people go a little too far. And that's fair. I think it's absolutely fair to reel back on it and say, okay, the whole idea is the Canada went way too left. and that pendulum's starting to swing. I want to slow it
Yes.
down before it goes crazy the other way. That's
Yes.
absolutely what I don't want. Doesn't make me a centrist. I'm absolutely a liberty oriented guy. Where I see things going when it swings the other way, it's just like it's authoritarianism just in the other direction. I don't want any of that. I don't want any part of that. So that's a big motivating factor on my part. But yeah, so some of the things that you get caught up in, the vitriol, these things, they happen. I see it as like, I don't know, it's kind of like a rite of passage, in my opinion. When you get to this point, if you're not pushing back on every position that you can push back on, you got to be careful, because then you could get caught up in what's called audience capture, where you're more worried about your audience leaving you than anything else. And I don't want to be in that position. I want to challenge even the people that watch us every week and love us and love watching the show. Sometimes I might challenge your ideas and you might not like what I have to say.
Actually, speaking of that and speaking of the conference, I was at, for Jonathan organized a little get together or a little video conference to keep organizing for this, the We Unify conference. Right. Mm-hmm. And there was a speaker there that I don't get along with already. And we were in the conference together, but we laughed about it. I'm like, we're actually going to put on a show for you guys at the We Unify conference, because we don't get along. It's actually fun. Yes. Not don't get along. I gotta readjust. I like the guy.
Agree.
I get along. We don't agree. So that's cool, right? So now we're going to be on stage and we're going to debate, and we'll put on a show for people. Like, how boring would it be if we got along on absolutely every issue? I mean, even you and I disagree. I could bring up a couple of issues that you and I disagree on, right? So yeah. But we don't need to. So yeah. Hey, before we move on, let me finish real quick with Danielle Smith last night. It was Danielle's a wonderful lady, and I'm tough with her, and she recognizes that, right? She winked at me when I walked to the stage, and then afterwards, I actually got the privilege of going into the VIP room and have some chats with her one-on-one, and I brought Karen to meet the premier. And Danielle immediately turned to Karen. I said, "This is my wife, Karen." And Danielle turned to her and she's like, "How do you put up with them?" She literally, that's what she said. She's like, "How do you put up with them?" And then she said one thing even funnier. She's like, "Do you send him on long hikes on purpose so you can be alone with yourself?" And Karen literally said, "Absolutely." So, good on you, Danielle, for having a sense of humor. And then we had a very pragmatic question. We talked about Jasper. I pleaded with her to go visit Jasper. I said, "Danielle, the reconstruction in Jasper is painful. It's pure federal government bureaucracy bullshit." And I told her, I said, "The people of Jasper are reaching out to me online for help. And so now I'm sharing with you, Danielle, do like you did a year ago, but do it with a more of a purpose. Get in your limousine with your crews, go to Jasper, go walk around, and don't go tour the town of Jasper with the mayor of Jasper or the chief of the fire department or Stephen Gilbo or anybody like that. Go tour, go do a town hall in Jasper. Yeah. Better yet, go do a town hall outside Jasper in the burnt out forest, and then listen to the people." And
I'd like to see that. I would like to see that.
Yeah.
But this week, as I was, stumbling around in social media, trying to piss people off as much as I possibly could, I stumbled on, because there's a lot of sacred cows in Canada, and we've all seen the sacred cows. You can't touch the dairy lobby. You can't touch this. People get really upset. But I stumbled on one that I didn't even know about, Marty.
Oh, which one? Because I mean, my sacred cows, the ones I know, immigration's one. Recycling. Don't slam recycling.
That's one.
Actually, Danielle Smith. By the way, okay, I'm promoting Danielle Smith tonight. Okay. Just one last story, because it was so funny. Last night, somebody talked about I don't know how it got on the topic of eggs, and somebody said, we're allowed to have 200 hens or whatever, and Danielle made a joke saying, "Be careful, keep it under 200 hens, otherwise you'll violate the dairy
You're going to jail.
You're going to jail." I was like, "Oh, bravo." And she got a huge applause for that. So she's listening. Good. She knows what's going on. She's listening. But so no, what's your sacred cow? What's the one you were thinking of?
It's a little flower from the prairies, a little yellow flower that everybody does not want to talk about, possibly not being a crop anymore. Unbelievably. Talking about rapeseed or canola. and how we might want to even get away from that. Holy cow, does that open up a can of worms? And
Really?
the only reason why I was bringing it up was because I wanted to segue into this idea of perhaps we shouldn't be so reliant on China's exports. And I was just only going in that direction. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of people, how dare you say that canola is not like the best product in the world? I opened it up by saying, you know, I think it would be I would like it if the Canadian producers would produce something that I consume, because I don't consume rapeseed products. I just not a fan. But it's unbelievable how much, Alberta, Saskatchewan are suffering right now because of these tariffs that have been brought on by China. And nobody's talking about it because it's not a big deal to Ottawa. But
the tariffs were brought in at the worst time, right? Like they're literally brought in like once the seeds are in the ground and the plants are half grown. Like they didn't bring in the tariffs like at some point where people could have pivoted and planted something different. I mean, farmers have choices, right? If you're planting canola, you can and you find out there's going to be a huge tariff on your canola, you can pivot and go to whatever, lentils or something else. But wow, I didn't know that. So you got a bunch of flack for
tons of flack. The usual. I mean, like, how dare you? You're not a farmer. What do you know about farming and all this stuff? Okay, I'll plead my ignorance on this. I was just saying because I don't consume canola products. I don't think they're healthy. I've done a bunch of research on it for myself, and I just don't want to put that stuff in me.
Canola is rapeseed, but rapeseed is toxic, right? Rapeseed has a component in there that's kind of toxic as an oil. So rapeseed was useful as a lubricant, the oil extracted from rapeseed, but then they modified the rapeseed genetically, and that's where the word canola came from. Canola is like Canadian low something acid content, like canola, like it's Canadian oil, low acid something. So that toxic acid has been removed in there. Yeah, I don't want to slam the canola industry. It's an important industry. But yes,
for sure.
I'm the same way. I'm not a big fan of eating canola oil,
and I just don't want so many omega-6s, and you overload on omega-6. And like just rudimentary, like TLDR, if you have too much omega-6 and not enough omega-3, it can be inflammatory, and that's not good for your body. So that's the thing. Everything in proportions, obviously. Like if you're going to eat canola, that it's not going to kill you, but it's one of those things. Like,
yeah, you brought up a great point. Everything in proportion, because I know as we're talking, here's Marty drinking a diet soda with like aspartame, and people are going to go, "You're a hypocrite because you don't." It's like, no, folks. I mean, yes, I try to eat healthy. I try to avoid some foods, but we live in a modern society, and some things I get tired of drinking water. So once in a while, I drink a ginger ale laced with chemicals.
Right. So I had no idea that there was so much fervent support for the canola industry. I had no idea. I was
it's a big industry, right? You did you look up the numbers, the volume? Like it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Like it's a big industry. It's not
it's enough that tariffs from China will put a big dent in a farmer's income for the year. That's awful. It's absolutely awful. So of course, I just I stumbled on it. So I'm going to do more research for myself, so I know more about it. And I do know that farmers aren't farming one crop, and that's not the only thing that they farm. Obviously, farmers, there's crop rotations, and it's the best way to not deplete your soil and also be able to add nutrients to the soil so that your next crop that you put on there is viable. And there's a whole science to it. I'm not going to claim that I know everything about that. Absolutely not. I just had no idea that it was so sacred. So yeah, the canola industry is a big one in Canada. So be careful what you're saying.
It's impressive. Like I live, I just came back from a drive in the country. Somebody came to test drive a vehicle. So we went for a loop in the country nearby. It is impressive this time of year to see the canola fields. Like I can get on top of some hills and then I can see as far as, like 10 kilometers in any direction, and it's just yellow, like huge. It's pretty. It's very pretty canola. Yeah,
it is.
Wow, I never thought I'd have a 3-minute or 5-minute discussion on canola, and here we are.
Here we are. But the thing is, if canola doesn't do well, people could lose their homes, and people are all over Canada worried about the homes and what's happening with their homes. This is another thing that I brought up online today, because we're getting ourselves into a situation where people in the housing market, I mean, it's just not doing well, period. And I mean, at the end of the day, we're kind of in a weird scenario, right? The prices of houses have come up so much, and they're way overinflated, way speculated, you might say. It's a commodity that is out of the reach of the next generation. So young people just can't afford to get into a house. So I was asking people online, and I was genuinely curious, like, how much lower does real estate have to drop in Canada before people can afford a home, or young people, or just even people in general, how much? And then a lot of quotes came out, people saying this much percent, that much percent. And I was really curious about this. And then it led me to the next question, which I found more pertinent. And this is the question, and I want to raise this even to the audience
Actually,
here.
before you go to that, before you go to your tweet, can you go to the one I just elevated to the top of mine? It'll just put a little bit of context for the discussion for people. So I popped up to the top of my timeline. There's a graph there, which is the it's not the housing index, it's the new housing index, but it's it's still an analog. I mean, because it came out today, so I just want to put this into context for people.
Okay, let's pop that up on the screen right here.
Yeah, so just go down to the graph. So basically, that an index is a price. So when 100 is the index number, and so you can see there that in 2020 the housing index was like 105. And then look at what happened to COVID. Like, this is the insanity. So I just want to put this out as context. So the index at the end of COVID by 2022 was 125. So that means that the new houses in a matter of like 2 years went up by 25%. So that's the foundation of a bubble. That's the foundation of a bubble. That's what we, when something inflates, it's the economic term, right? This
isn't even the beginning of that bubble, though, Marty.
No, it's not even the beginning of it, but it just shows. The reason I posted that is because the government's starting to brag about, the housing index dropped. Okay, folks, the housing index dropped like 0.03%, like last month, year over year. Like, come on. Like, the Liberals are clinging on to anything that can be seen. So anyways, go back to your tweet, Clyde. So I just wanted to put that into context. Like, housing prices have gone sky high too fast.
Let's give the full context too then. Yeah. So that's over the last 5 years. But let's go back even further. So 2008 crisis occurs. What does the Harper government do? They say, let's do some deficit spending because this is the time that you should do deficit spending. And Mark Carney's in the Bank of Canada, and he goes, sure, let's lower interest rates to rock bottom. We'll keep them there forever. And then Harper's out of government, and Carney's still in there, keeping them low. And what does it do? It fosters this no saving environment. So if you have your money in savings, you're going to lose it all to inflation. So people and even the prime rates are zero. So you go to the bank and you want to put it in savings, you're not going to get anything. There's no return. Everything's gone. So everybody's forced to take their savings and put it into commodities. And what was the best commodity for everybody?
Real estate.
So everybody went into real estate, and it bid the prices up. It absolutely bid the prices up, because not only were they going into real estate, but they're to buy a house, but they're going into real estate with investment. So they're just buying up houses, and a lot of people got into the idea of flipping them after the prices started going up. And then all these TV shows started coming out about how you can make a buck flipping houses, and it became this whole frenzy, and it was this whole thing. And we went from houses in my town, Squamish, houses around that time going for brand new builds of a townhouse going for like $200,000, and like standalone houses maybe $250,000, $300,000. They're overnight they're exploding, and just a few years later they doubled in price. And then go all the way to this time, that same house that 20 years ago was built and sold for $200,000 is a townhouse is selling for $950,000 in the same town. That's how crazy the market has gone. So I wanted to ask the question, what if the market flips? Like, what happens in that scenario? So here's the question. And let me pop this up. So if real estate dropped to the price that people could afford in Canada, what would happen to the people that own currently? And I'm not talking about people who own outright. I'm talking about the people who bought in this market.
Yep.
So how much wealth would evaporate? Could someone renew a $900,000 mortgage if their house is only worth $500K after that? Or can people survive in negative equity? So if we're in a negative equity scenario, where does that put us? Right? That puts us in a really, really bad situation. And that's only losing half the value. If you look at it, real estate didn't just double. Real estate went way beyond doubling in Canada, all over the place.
The answer to your question is in the U.S. We saw it happen in 2007. I mean, the crash in the U.S. was a huge correction. Some people it recovered, some people benefited, but it's in the trillions of dollars that got vaporized because
vaporized.
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
No longer
it's gone
exists.
forever.
That value is
gone
forever.
Gone forever. I mean, I lived it. I bought the house I currently live in. I bought in 2007. So
oh yeah, you would have got a steal on it because
I got a steal on it. I hate to admit it, but I got a steal on it. One man's misfortune is another man's good luck, right? So I buy the house, and then 3 days later, I get all the paperwork from my lawyer, and I get the title to the property, and I'm reviewing it. The previous owner took a $250,000 haircut when he sold to me. He still had a mortgage worth $250,000 more than what he sold me the house for. That's a haircut, man. I don't know. And they were exactly what you described. It was a young couple, professional couple who bought this house to try and flip it. And they had the luck / misfortune of getting pregnant and having twins. So terrible bad luck for them. The market was tanking, and then they had twins, and they were a dual income, and she stopped working because of that. I felt bad, but I mean, it's what happens. It's I bought the house, and they took a $200,000 haircut.
Well, but that's the thing.
So the question you asked, did somebody answer? I mean, usually Nixon would answer that properly with full blown stats or whatever. Like,
you know what? Nixon didn't even reply. I'm sad about that. You probably didn't see it, but yeah, lots of people are just. I mean, the opinions are all over the place. But a good amount of people that seem like they know what they're talking about are all saying you won't be able to refinance. Like, that's it. And we're not like the United States where you can carry a mortgage for the rest of your life. You have to redo your mortgage every so many years, and then there's stress tests on what you can pay. And if you owe more than the equity of the place, a lot of financial institutions will say, "Oh, I'm not taking that risk."
Some people wake up at renewal time with all sorts of bad surprises. I mean, even if your property doesn't go down. Some people, the banks don't do this very often, but they do fixed amount mortgages with a variable interest behind the scene, and people are pay the same monthly installment, but what they don't realize is that on their monthly installment they're actually not putting down any principal. It's all interest because it's being adjusted, right?
Yeah.
And same thing, people go, well, I've had this mortgage for 3 years on a $400,000 house, and then they go to renew, and that renewal time is like, well, your renewal is $420. You didn't even chew any of your principal. Never mind if the value of the house goes down, then you're in absolute deep water. Like, it's terrible. Yeah. I'd like to see a correction. You and I talked about that, right? I mean, I think the correction is inevitable. It's going to happen. I think the government's trying to do everything they can to delay that correction. They're hoping that something natural happens, right? Like that people literally die off and sell the homes at a less loss and things like that. I know the government doesn't want,
but that's not the scenario. So
no.
A lot of boomers already own their properties, so they're out of this equation altogether, unless they took out equity loans, and then it's like, well, okay, you got greedy. You had a good thing and you wanted a boat or whatever it was that you wanted. You could have just had your house outright and no rent. But for the most part, a lot of boomers are out of this equation. It really is. It's a problem with my generation. There's a lot of people in my generation, that the millennial generation, that That's it. All they had was a choice of taking out a giant mortgage, and that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's that or
Yeah,
rent. And I went the route of renting.
Yeah, we're going to see it shortly. Like CMHC started warning about this, 3 years ago, and interest rates hit high. Now they've been going down. So, and if you think that if you estimate or assume that the average person takes out a 5-year mortgage, then in any given 5-year period, all the mortgages that are up for renewal get renewed, right? So apparently, we're kind of in the middle of this sort of issue. Half the mortgages have been renewed, but it's the mortgages that are coming up for renewal between now and the next year that are going to be the real problematic one. Those are the poor people. Those are the people now. Now we're really going to see the people who bought at 1% interest, and now are renewing at 4.5, 4.6. I looked at the interest rates the other day, so they're going up that way, and they're hitting the bad time. They bought at the high, and there's a correction happening. So somebody who bought a house in 2021 who needs to renew next and got a 3-year mortgage, oof, they're sweating. Somebody who got a 4-year mortgage is keeping their fingers crossed that interest rates go down a little bit more. But that ties into other things that happened this week. I mean, inflation numbers came out, and inflation still is going back up now. It's like it's 2-3 months in a row that is going up now. It's doing that second bounce. Tiff Macklin lowered interest rates too quickly. You and I warned, right? It's the wrong thing to do. You're adding too much. You're tipping the balance on the supply demand. You're printing more money. You're creating more inflation.
Yeah.
And it was way too early. He did it. I guarantee it. He'll never admit it, but he did it at the request of Trudeau. Trudeau was between a rock and a hard place a year and a half ago, and he was pleading with Tiff, like, throw me a bone, help me out. Tiff lowered interest rates. He's going to have to bring them up again.
Absolutely, he's going to have to bring them up again, because inflation's run away. But, Marty, we're being told inflation's great. Even Doug Ford today, he wasn't super happy with Tiff Macklin. And I just got to play this.
Hang on a second. I got to prepare myself, because Doug Ford's been hilarious lately. Like, this is what, his 4th or 5th rant? Like, every day this week, Doug Ford's had a brilliant rant. So which one is this one? This is on interest rates or something?
It's on interest rates. I got a few for you tonight, Marty. This is going to be good.
Okay.
Well, yeah, here's Doug Ford on interest rates.
The CFIB is saying that if nothing changes in regard to the U.S. tariffs, we will see more business closing. 1 in 5, actually, and specifically small business as well. And the retaliatory tariffs are hurting them too. So do we have a plan yet specifically to support them?
First of all, the governor of Bank of Canada, you have to lower these damn interest rates. It's driving me crazy. You keep saying we get inflation below 2%, we'll lower them. Well, we're at 2.75%. Folks, there's a lot of people in this room who are going to be renewing their mortgages. And I don't want you to get hit. We need to lower that and stimulate the economy. And then the stress tests as well. The bank's throwing another 2%. I don't want to get too deep into this. They're adding additional 2% in case the interest rates go up. Cut that back 1%. These are just simple things.
They're not simple.
They're not simple.
No, yeah. And I mean, for someone who buys into this Keynesian economic stuff, just stimulate the economy and everything will get going. As long as people feel rich, then everybody will get going.
Doug, you're in charge, buddy. Doug, pressure the federal government to stop immigration. Okay, lower the red tape so that we can build houses faster, Dougie. Stop spending. Like, keep your bloated bureaucracy under control and stop spending taxpayer dollars. That's one of the biggest things you can do to stimulate the economy and get things under control. Like,
well, he's talking like he's the opposition. He's the government. He's
feeling heat, obviously, right? I mean, he's
boy.
and Tiff Macklin's going to feel heat.
For sure. But I love this because, like, I want to start doing a graph where inflation numbers are like the weather. And when you look at the weather, you go to weather.com and you scroll down, and then it tells you the feels like temperature because of the humidity or whatever.
Yeah.
You need to have
the wind chill factor. So
the grocery factor, and it's like if I know it's 2.5%, but it feels like 10, you know.
I'm surprised Doug actually said the real number. Like it's closer, you know, the Bank of Canada is publishing that inflation was 1.7, but even the Bank of Canada publishes real inflation, median inflation, and trim inflation, and they have an inflation number where they take out the top and bottom. They take out the outliers, because the outliers at this point, like reporting inflation on clothing right now, it's negative, right? Inflation, like clothing,
people just aren't buying it.
They're not buying it. They have no discretionary income whatsoever, so they're not buying clothing. And so luckily clothing at -9 or 0.1% helps the overall balance, but housing at 3%, fuel at 3.6, food at 4%. Like when you look at the things that people are still buying, inflation is like running at 2.7 to 3%.
And they got to stop measuring it by quarter. They should go annualize everything. So annualized inflation, it would be a lot more than 2.5%.
They do both. I mean, if you dig into the Bank of Canada numbers, they do both. But they like to report the lower number, right? So well, they pick and choose.
It's a misnomer. So yeah. I saw it before on British TV where they're like, I know if you look at the inflation, they say that this much, but if you look at a graph of prices over the course of 2 years, it went like this, right? And it went way up. It's like, holy cow. Yeah, these are compounding interests. This is the interest rate over this small period of time. But over a large chunk of time, we're talking like twofold increases in the price of things. That's crazy.
Yeah, and I hate to, you know, we have a very smart audience, but I'm still going to repeat it because there are people who might watch this video who don't watch this every week. A lower inflation doesn't mean that prices are going down. It still means that prices are going up, right? Like some of the prices it'll be a long time, if ever, before certain prices on certain categories come down. People get happy. They go, oh, inflation is only 1%. Well, no, it's still going up. Like it's going up. Plus it just went up. By the way, 1%. Are we I was going to segue into another, but let's keep talking about inflation. Or if you want to, the reason I'm thinking 1%. Yeah, let's go with this one. The Canada Pension Plan released their first quarter report, right? So folks, again, these are things you have to be careful about. In most businesses, first quarter is January to March, but the government, almost all government institutions run an April to April fiscal year. That's because government generally sits in summer. So Bank of Canada, Canada Post, Canada Pension Plan, they run an April to April quarter. So the first quarter of the Canada Pension Plan, which is the one that just finished for them, so April to June, return on investment for the Canada Pension Plan was 1%.
Less than inflation.
That's less than inflation. So during that period, they lost money. And during that period, the Canadian stock market, because at the beginning of the year, the Americans, screwed us over, but the markets have recovered. The first quarter for most Canadian companies and for the US market is a 10% return on investment. So the Canada Pension Plan, underperformed everything, and they pay themselves $1.9 billion in salaries a year. They have a staff of about 5,000 people. It's absolutely ridiculous. I gave an example today. We should just do passive investment. Just give that money to one of the big mutual funds in the US or the UK or somewhere else and just say, here's $500 billion, manage it for us. They would charge, we could probably negotiate a $3 billion annual fee for that, and that'd be fine. So yeah, we're losing money. Inflation is a true hidden tax. People don't understand. People don't understand that, right? Even if the Canada Pension Plan made 4% return on investment, it's lousy when inflation is 2.8. Inflation erodes everything.
This is why nations that are going towards liberty, like Venezuela, not Venezuela, sorry, Argentina. Venezuela is way out to lunch. Argentina are legalizing different forms of money and going away from these legal tenure laws where you can only use their currency. They're dollarizing as we speak, and they're also going towards alternative cryptocurrencies, bank accounts that are held in gold denominations. So you own your money in gold, and then when you do a transaction, it sells your gold off and it does a transaction through money, and when you get bank deposits, it buys more gold for you. Like these are different financial institutions that people are getting away from fiat currency because they don't trust their governments. I mean, like, come on, this is taxation. This is why, you know, in the US, when the Constitution was written, they had constitutional money because they saw the power of being able to just like, you know, whittle away. So they gave weights and measures because the king was clipping coins and doing stuff like that. They didn't realize that it was going to turn into this new digital age of fiat currency. It's just outrageous.
Well, it's outrageous that, you know, don't quote me on this, but we're probably top 5 nations on earth in terms of gold production. Like, we have gold in our backyard, man. Like, we have so much gold, and we went away from gold as a backing for our currency. I mean, it's not perfect, but I'd still rather have something backing our currency. I mean, that's the other graph. Then nothing. I mean, that's another graph I tried to explain to people. It's a very complicated subject, but the whole subject of Canada's money supply, right? Like, and there's same thing. The Bank of Canada publishes that, and you can go see the money supply. Well, the money supply in the last 5 years just doubled. So it's not rocket science. If the government doubles the money supply, our money's worth half. Like it's pure, simple math. And
the first people to get that money, so the cronies that get it right out of the gates, they get it at full face value, and then they spend it right away.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they spend it right away. And then
it's a Ponzi scheme. The first guy makes money, the next guy doesn't, the next guy makes less and less and less. Absolutely. Yeah.
Unbelievable. But hey, I told you I had Ford clips. Ford says, you know, things are going peachy keen. This is the way our government's been going. It's his ideal sort of government. I don't know if you've seen this clip.
No. Trump is so unpredictable. I don't even know if he knows what he's doing tomorrow morning. So let's start focusing on creating that environment.
But is there an acceptance? Is there an acceptance, I guess, from leaders that we'll just have the tariffs?
Again, the prime minister will speak on that, but the president is unpredictable. He'll come out with some cockamamie thing tomorrow that we don't even know about.
So
right?
do you think that Mark Carney is being too elbows down in response
Not at
to
all.
that?
Not at all. He's doing an incredible job. He's working.
Oh, he's not. Oh my God.
12 other premiers and myself, and working as Team Canada. He's doing a very, very good job, in my opinion. Put in his position, dealing with Donald Trump. Let's stop worrying about Donald Trump. We'll start focusing on Ontario and Canada and all the other.
This is 100% again what you talked about 2 weeks ago, right? That they're blaming Donald Trump on everything. I mean, they're going to double down on their stupidity, and they got a great boogeyman next door, and they're going to keep blaming Donald Trump. Like, I mean, okay, anybody listening who's got skills with AI and editing software, like, make that video so that it looks like, you know, give it the deer in the headlights look kind of thing, because that's what's happening to Dougie all week, right? He's like, some of the premiers, and Carney got cornered coming out of one of the wings of Parliament Hill, and he got asked a question. Man, it was like word salad extraordinaire. They are out of ideas. They have no idea what to do. They are completely out of ideas.
Incompetent is the word.
Completely incompetent. That's a better word. They're incompetent.
Completely incompetent. Completely. And they just, even though the media looks like didn't even buy Doug Ford's thing. No, Donald Trump is unpredictable. And like people are losing that. People are getting away from this like idea that Donald Trump is unpredictable, because who's the only people saying that? Canadians. Yeah. The Chinese are making deals, the Vietnamese, the Indonesians, the
Donald
Brits,
Trump is 100% predictable. He told us exactly what he was going to do. He said, I'm going to drain the swamp. I'm going to lower taxes. I'm going to bring back manufacturing to my country. I'm going to impose tariffs on people that have been abusing us or whatever. I'm going to rebalance the trade between different nations. What else did he say? I'm going to bring peace through forceful negotiation, through strength.
We're gonna boost the military might of our neighboring nations,
and we're going to protect ourselves. I'm going to deport the immigrants. He laid out his plan.
I'm going to bring back manufacturing to the United States of America.
Yeah. What's unpredictable about that? There's nothing unpredictable. He told us what he's going to do, and guess what he's doing? He's doing it. By the way, do you have that?
You know
clip
something
of-
I could never have predicted?
What's
Something
that?
I could never have predicted. It was just how propagandized the Canadian people are. So this was something that came out this week, and it just astonishes me. Poll shows that Chinese Communist Party has a higher approval rating in Canada amongst Canadians than
Were
Donald
you just
Trump.
doing that in a Chinese voice? You almost sounded like you were doing it in a Olivia Chow voice kind of thing.
Like Cracky Chan? Yeah. No, not on purpose anyway. But this is crazy.
That's crazy. Yes.
This is absolutely insane. According to the poll, when asked whether they approve or disapprove of the job performance of the leadership of certain nations, 64% of Canadians said that they had a negative view of the CCP, while 23% of it was positive. 23% of Canadians think that the CCP is a positive thing. They still have police stations in Canada to police Chinese ethnic people, and it's crazy. When it came to the US, those numbers were 79 and 15 respectively. 79% of Canadians have a negative view of the United States, and you wonder why we started up the show saying, Clyde, you're getting all this flack just for being American and being pro-American. Sorry, folks, not sorry, but I'm pro-American. I'm very happy with what Trump is doing. I think it's good. I think that Canada would be doing a lot better if they would just put the elbows down and put your big boy pants on and come to the negotiation table and make a deal like all the other countries of the world are making. Yeah, it's not going to be the sweet deal that Canadians got used to, trade protectionism on this side and open borders to the US. No, it's going to be reciprocal. And it's going to be a fair deal. And if that means getting rid of the dairy lobby and these other pet projects that some people like, so be it. Sorry, not sorry. If you're making, you make a product that doesn't viably work in the economy, government's not going to come in and protect you. It shouldn't be there to protect you. And Americans are not going to sit by while Canadians are, saying, no, we're not going to do this, but then allow Canadians, like the banks. People were complaining about how Trump said this, but listen, can you open up a Chase bank? Can you open up a Wells Fargo, a Bank of America bank account in Canada? You can open up a TD bank account in the United States. That's unbelievable.
You know what I'd really like to see? I'd really like to see American Airlines be allowed to do domestic routes in Canada. I'd love to be able to take Southwest Airlines from Calgary to Victoria, or American Airlines from Toronto to to Regina, right? Like,
absolutely.
Our carrier is okay on the big long international flights, but domestic flights with Air Canada and WestJet, and I mean, I got a buddy who's in Newfoundland right now, and he's already like sweating because of the it costs him whatever $1,200 to fly to Newfoundland from Calgary, and now he's worried that he won't be able to come back home because the stewardesses are I said stewardesses. Yeah, stewardesses. And you're like, I mean,
it's the airline strike.
The flight attendants. Okay, flight attendants. Marty, you're being sexist when you say stewardesses. Okay, sorry, but
the airlines are they're striking again. It's almost like when the post office goes on strike, they want all these trinkets and special attention.
That's an interesting.
That other people in other airlines aren't getting this. They should be. I just want government out of everything. Get out of my ferries to the island. Get out of the airlines. Like, just a competition, please.
Yeah. Anytime somebody starts a sentence with "government should have stopped," don't even go further.
Well, and the other thing is, and you hear this all the time when you say there should be more competition, and then people will say, yeah, but if we allowed, then it's always if competition's allowed, then our Canadian company wouldn't exist. Is your Canadian company all that great then at the end of the day?
Like, what do you think a non-tariffed Chinese electric vehicle sell for in Canada? Like, you could,
they're
like,
cheap.
if It'd be $10,000 to $15,000. Like I'm looking for small cars for my kids here. I could buy. I'm not in favor of EVs, but boy, if I can get an EV for $15,000 from China, yeah, I might try one. But that's why they're slapping 100%. Like, how ludicrous is it, right? They slapped 100% tariff on Chinese EVs, but they're still going ahead with the law saying we're going to have to buy EVs by 2035. They're going to try and force an industry that we're not competitive in. I hate to say it, folks, but we've lost that competitive edge. We shouldn't be making cars in Canada. We lost that competitive edge. If they want to regain it, yeah.
If Donald Trump had his way, they wouldn't be making American cars in Canada either. And that's largely because Canada just won't get on board. And so Donald Trump's putting the gears to the big three and saying, get out of Ontario. Like, get out of there. Come back to Toledo. Come back to Detroit, come back to Cleveland, and we'll make cars there, and we'll keep your taxes low, and you'll be happy. And you won't have to deal with these cross-border issues with your products. End of story.
Yeah, we talked about this last week. The 2026 models will hit the showrooms probably in about 2 to 3 weeks from now, and folks, you're going to see a 7 to 10% increase in North American cars in general, whether they're made here or not, because the tariffs, like the whole supply chain is being hammered by these tariffs, and the big manufacturers can't absorb it any longer. So
no.
Hey, we're running out of time. Let's talk real quick about, we talked about Carney. I mean, there's so much we could talk about Carney. I love the memes of him with the plants and everything else. Like, that was all. We'll talk about that in the chat, but in this part, let's talk about the by-election, right? So Trudeau, Poilievre's going back to the House of Commons. I'm happy about that. I'm actually, given all the alternatives, I'd rather let's send Pierre back to the House of Commons. He is our best bet. He gets a chance to now. Hopefully, he'll pivot once he's in the House of Commons, and then I think it's going to be fireworks to watch him and Carney go head to head. I still don't think Carney will hold his own against Pierre. Pierre's just too quick, and his team is just too strong on the talking points. But Pierre ran a good battle. He won. He got 80.4% of the votes in this riding, which is on par with what the riding did and for the Conservatives in the last election. The media is still losing their mind, right? Like, ooh, Pierre parachuted into an ultra conservative riding. I'm like, it's a courtesy.
So did Mark Carney.
So did Mark Carney.
It's
a courtesy we've done for, it's a courtesy of the Westminster system. Whenever a new leader or somebody like that, we accept that they parachute in somewhere and let them get back in. I mean, Jagmeet Singh didn't run in his riding. Neither did actually the only one who consistently runs, I think, in her own riding is Elizabeth May. Is she a British Columbian by birth? She must be, right?
Who's that?
Elizabeth May.
I believe she is.
Or is she one of those?
Yeah, I don't know. I know she's in.
She announced her retirement again for the 5th time. So
well, hopefully it'll stick this time.
Yeah.
But on the Pierre Poilievre thing, would it be mean of me to say that I'm kind of indifferent on that?
Well, you and I are both indifferent on that. I mean, but it's the lesser of many evils. I mean, I'm indifferent on it, but will it change anything? No, not a lot. I mean,
zero in my estimate.
Yeah, it won't change anything, but it's better than.
Pierre is a good attack dog for the Conservatives as a, official opposition leader. And he got a lot of people riled up, but I think a lot of people were riled up because they thought he was going to be the next PM. And so it'll be a bit of a different story as it wanes, right? Because we're not going into an election anytime soon. There is tremendous support for Carney, believe it or not, like absolutely believe it or not. There is a lot of support for Carney. He's in his honeymoon period. But it doesn't seem to be waning all that quick. People are seeing it. We're having a laugh at him because on the international stage, everybody's laughing at Canada and Mark Carney. But nobody.
The polls
in the
show he's still popular. The voters out east still have to stand by him, right? They voted for him, so they're not ready to lower their elbows. But the media is not cutting him much slack anymore. I mean, the media is starting to roast him because it's been 160 days and he hasn't done anything.
No matter how hard Pierre tries, he's not getting. And he tried, and holy cow, did he alienate some people that are Trump supporters and just straight up just Americans? no matter how hard he tried there, the people who didn't like him because they thought he was too Trump-like still think he's too Trump-like. So like that's not going to change. The only thing that changed was people just became more indifferent.
I'm just looking at the comments. There's been some great comments that went by. Somebody made a great comment comparing Carney parachuting into his riding and Pierre parachuting into his riding. Carney kicked out the incumbent, right? So Carney kicked out the incumbent of the Nepean riding and kicked him out of the party. Literally, like pushed him out to get a seat. Nobody was giving up their seat voluntarily for Carney. So yeah, that's a very good reminder. That and the media never talked about that. The media just, Carney has 3 passports, hasn't lived in Canada for 20 years, doesn't even own a house here, and kicked somebody out of his riding, and the media is quiet about it. Pierre loses the election because of some foul play, gets a second chance by running in Alberta where he was born because a local MP, gives up his seat, and that's a controversy. Like our media in this country is a joke.
Yeah, it's a joke. It's hardly a controversy, but I mean, it is what it is. They wanted to have their party leader in, and so they got it. That's where we're at. I'm seeing like a bit of a divide here because after the last election, a lot of people have lost hope on the idea of Canada as a whole doing anything anytime soon, because obviously it went crazy left, and for a myriad of different reasons, people had their different reasons for it, but now that we have the Alberta Prosperity Project, there's a lot of people rallying behind that. And let's be honest, the federal Conservative Party has the most to lose in Alberta separating. So they're probably going to be the biggest opponent of this. So Pierre Poilievre, even though coming to Alberta, does not want Alberta to separate, and he's probably going to put a lot of effort into making sure that doesn't happen.
This is an interesting statistics if you look back at the last 10 federal elections in this country. If you took out Alberta in the last 10 federal elections, they would have been overwhelmingly liberal. Like we had Harper managed to squeak a victory, 3 of them, let's be fair, but he squeaked them by because he had some conservative votes in a lot of them, right? So if you take out Alberta, the country will never be conservative ever again. If you take out Alberta, for the next 50 years, Canada, the rest of Canada will be a liberal democracy because the Liberals will continue to win. That's fact. Mm-hmm. Weirdly, if you take out Quebec and you keep Alberta, if you take out Quebec out of Confederation, Canada will be conservative for the next 50 years. That's how liberal Quebec is, and that's how conservative Alberta is. So, you darn right. The Conservatives want us to stay in there for several reasons. I mean, they need our money. They need us to keep subsidizing the Canada Pension Plan, EI, transfer payments, all of the good stuff. But they also need us to stay to have a hope of getting in power.
Well, that's a good point, actually, you brought up, because I've said this before. If Alberta separated and the transfer payment stopped and Quebec became not a beneficiary, but a payer into the transfer payments, they would soon go too.
Yeah, but mathematically, if Alberta leaves, Doug Ford's the next guy who's going to pick up this. I always laugh to Ontarians. I'm like, of course you like be careful. If we leave, you guys are left holding the purse after us. Like it will the subsidizing Quebec and the Maritimes will fall back to Ontario. So we'll see.
Yeah, I've had personally a lot of Ontarian supporters of the channel. People say, I can't believe you're supporting the idea of Alberta separating. I don't understand. Like, yeah, you guys, it's not good for the listeners that live in Ontario. That's not great. But how could you stand by and watch, tell a wife that's being beaten to stay in the home? Like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Like I'm a bystander in this. I'm from British Columbia. I'm moving to Texas. I'm watching from the outside and saying, I think this is a liberty movement. I don't see this as anything but.
We're going to talk about this at the We Unified conference. It's going to be hard to escape this topic. I know we and I don't want to beat a dead horse. We talk about separatism every couple of weeks. I mean, I'll leave it at this on this topic. Right now, separatism in Alberta is a little bit lukewarm because it's the summer and everything is nothing's happening really exciting. The future of separatism in Alberta is in Carney's hands right now. When he goes back and Parliament resumes in the next couple of weeks, what he does will determine whether separatism continues or he's able to quench it. I could give him advice on how he can quench it. I think he could calm it down. I don't think he's smart enough to do it, and I'm not going to give him the advice. But I'm more inclined to think that he's going to screw it up. You know, he promises pipelines and stuff like that. Danielle Smith's testing him, right? Carney asked for all the provinces to lay out a couple of projects that they wanted, you know, that we could accelerate. Some provinces put out like 2 or 3 projects. We put one. We put one on the table. We put back like the Northern Gateway kind of pipeline back on the table because that's the most challenging one for Carney. If he's real, he'll approve a pipeline to the West Coast. If he's not, then Danielle's playing him that way. Good 3D chess match.
Fair enough. Well, I wish we had more time for the regular show to get into more topics because we had a bunch lined up. We're going to talk about those in the Q&A section after this. So if you're watching this live, say you're watching this over on Twitter, head on over to the YouTube side of things because that's where we're going to continue off. And we've got a whole lineup of questions and answers that's coming up. If you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, perhaps Thursday morning or another day, and you're watching this recorded, this is a live show. This is a live show that happens every Wednesday at 6:30 Pacific time. That's 9:30 Eastern. Tune in and join us live while we do this. If not,
so I'll stop my Twitter feed right now then just to be safe. So
all right. Well, we'll see you guys in YouTube. Head on over. That's happening. Look at the number drop. That was crazy. About 1,000 people watching on Marty's channel.
Sorry folks, feel bad for doing that to you, but
come on over.
Them's the
come
rules.
Over and watch it. Them's the rules. So everybody, Marty, where can people find you?
They were watching me on Twitter, or find me on X. I gotta say X, Marty Up North on X. Come have a chat with me, folks.